Thank you so much for welcoming me here tonight. This group has asked me to present because you've been struggling with the problem of effectively onboarding and engaging your board chair. I want to say up front that you're not alone. The problem is one the nonprofit sector has long struggled with, yet it remains vital to the success of your organization's mission that we uncover the existing impediments to orienting this crucial governing leader. A nonprofit board of directors led by their chair has ultimate oversight responsibility of the nonprofit, but often lacks understanding of their role and how their leadership fits within the organization's culture. Research shows that the vast majority of nonprofit board chairs have no experience in this sector and don't understand how a business without financial incentives is managed. This role ambiguity, or the struggle to understand their actual oversight and stewardship responsibilities, has been shown to cause friction between the most important governing leadership relationship a nonprofit has, the board chair and executive director dyad. Sadly, this partnership is rarely harmonious when a board chair is not onboarded, and it's a slippery slope from there. Not only for these key players, but not preparing a board chair for their role can impact culture from the top down, as well as decrease organizational effectiveness significantly. I suggest we look at the problem through a conceptual lens constructed around Clark and Estes and their gap analysis framework, which looks at the knowledge, motivation, and organizational challenges board chairs face that keep them from their service goals. But if we truly want to have an inclusive discussion, we also need to ground ourselves in the perspectives of others through sociocultural learning theory and social cognitive theory, which will allow us the space for the individual as well as the organization to both contribute to the creation of a shared context for assessment. So let's start at the end with an overview of what I'm recommending today to successfully onboard and engage your chair. In a sector where resources of both time and dollars are scarce, these practical recommendations should alleviate strain on your nonprofit, not add to it. I do want to dive into the first recommendation, though, as it's a little outside of the box and involves changing who you recruit for board service in the first place. I've worked with nonprofit boards who are recruited for their financial capability, their connections, their professional skills. All remain an important qualifier, but potentially not the most important. We need to look outside insular networks, which only stand to multiply existing DEI issues. For example, current national board statistics show that 79% of nonprofit board chairs are white, while 16% of all white boards actually govern organizations that serve people of color. We have to have more diverse representation at the board table. Looking at your volunteers and even recipients of service, for example, who are deeply connected to your mission, may help your organization flourish and buck the trend of knowledge and motivation loss experienced when these leaders transition from their roles. Although other stakeholders have been mentioned, the primary focus on this organizational improvement we're discussing tonight is board chairs. There are 1.6 million nonprofits in the US with a board chair at the helm of each, and it's a big job to have all these stakeholders feeding into one volunteer role. It's no wonder that 82% of board chairs in a recent national survey indicated they only took on the role because no one else would do it, and why most executive directors I've worked with choose to go around their board chair rather than collaborate with them. But your mission is too important, and we don't want that to happen. So how can we move forward? How can we have a board chair who understands their role, is confident in their ability to lead? How can we stress to the nonprofit that they must lend a hand, that being board chair is different from being a board member? Flipping Clark and Estes a bit for the purposes of illustrating this implementation plan, we need to start with the organization. Your nonprofit needs to acknowledge that learning about the board chair role isn't an organic part of board service. They must provide materials such as historical documents, goals, assistance, connections for the incoming chair. This will then clarify the role for them, provide room for learning and growth, as well as understanding of how their leadership fits within the governance framework. With luck, implementing an onboarding process will result in a motivated and engaged board chair who's supported by their organization and knowledgeable of the significance of their role. Investment in the board chair onboarding process can benefit your nonprofit in so many ways, from succession planning, board recruitment, more trusting dyadic relationships, and a board culture that's more connected to internalization of your mission and vision. Every board chair I've ever met who's properly onboarded sought to strengthen their nonprofit, to pay that knowledge forward, regardless of whether they wanted to be board chair or not. I hope this shows that efforts undertaken to educate and engage a board chair in their duties are not in vain. But it will take investment by this group to get there. Resources needed in the first phase of work to address this problem of board chair onboarding is time, learning materials, and connections for a new board chair for gaining the knowledge needed. Going back to Clark and Estes, change won't happen unless human causes of performance problems are investigated. Determining what a board chair lacks to complete their job, as well as what opportunities they might find motivating, such as a mentorship by a previous board chair, will be important. This will hopefully lead to a better understanding of human issues, so this group can focus on more operational concerns when addressing this problem. In the first 1 to 3 years, you can expect increased commitment and improved relationships. Years 3 to 5, you will see a stronger recruitment pipeline, which is the #1 problem as reported by boards nationally. This will all lead to a strong board, a strong organization, and a strong culture. Just like any change initiative, though, there will be challenges. Resistance to change is common. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and her approach to change resonates in that she acknowledges the emotional aspects humans feel when confronting change. It's imperative that change leaders in this room strive to meet stakeholders where they are emotionally. Acknowledging resistance to change by listening to their concerns while striving to link the why back to the values and mission of this nonprofit should be an initial onboarding priority. This may be particularly relevant when presenting this change to your executive director. It may be necessary to justify why they should take time, their most important resource, to engage a board chair who is just going to leave at the end of their 1 to 3 year term. Much more so than any financial obligation this plan may introduce. I promise my fee is low. This group should prepare for emotional resistance to change, much more so than monetary challenges. Choosing to focus on strengthening your board chair's onboarding program is significant and should be communicated. Starting internally with staff and board, building awareness and gaining consensus and reporting on SMART goal progress at the board level will keep the issue front and center through all phases of implementation. Externally, this nonprofit has multiple stakeholders who are savvy donors and know that the first place to look when assessing organizational effectiveness is at the governing board. Share your progress, from photos on social media of past members gathering to support the new chair, newsletters, joint education sessions between your chair and the executive director. All of this will increase your chair's self-efficacy while broadcasting your success. And when it comes time to evaluation, I will guide this group through the Kirkpatrick model for assessment, where you can clearly see results and measure areas of impact. This analysis gives organizations the ability to adjust the learning path when needed and better understand the relationship between each level of training. The end result will be stronger, more effective program for your nonprofit. Starting with level 1, I will assist in evaluating reaction to the proposed onboarding and engagement plan through surveys and one-on-one meetings with your board chair and executive director after introduction. Level 2, we're going to gauge whether skills have been acquired through pre- and post-assessment comparisons. Evaluation through level 3 will be done primarily through observation of the board chair as they lead monthly meetings. Have they understood the knowledge and training provided, and are they implementing it? And finally, level 4 results. We can evaluate this through metrics such as donated revenue, board meeting agenda relevance, and performance assessments of the chair by their fellow board members. Thank you for welcoming me here tonight and for understanding how crucial the role of a nonprofit board chair is within your organization. I look forward to your questions.